The NBA trade deadline has come and gone now, and we saw maybe not a ton of big moves happen, but a lot of little moves that I think really do shift some power between the teams in the NBA. I actually think this is going to be more of a common theme in future deadlines. I think with the new way that the salary cap is set up and the way that we've seen people kind of abuse and trade too many picks before, I think you're going to see teams be more and more conservative and hold on to assets a little longer, which is probably good in the long term. Maybe we start to get an actual free agency back and maybe players stick around on their teams a little bit longer and they kind of mature with their contract. But anyway, I thought what we could do today is we could recap all of the moves and everything that were made throughout the deadline and most importantly, grade each of the teams. Conveniently, I found an article to do just that. Now, I don't give a shit what Sam Quinn, I'm sure he's a nice guy and everything, actually ranked these teams. This is more so to just keep me in order and everything and talking about teams in a nice sequential way. But I figured we'll go through all the teams and everything and kind of talk about how we'd grade their trade deadline. And hey, make sure you guys subscribe. YouTube keeps telling me in my weekly reports that I need to tell you guys to subscribe more, so do with that as you will, I guess. All right, first team we got on the list is the Atlanta Hawks. The C grade is kind of interesting because the Hawks didn't really make any moves at the deadline, and that's why they're giving them a C, is because they couldn't find a trade partner for DeJounte Murray. Like, honestly, knowing what was like kind of on the table for DeJounte Murray and everything, I don't see why they didn't just keep him. I mean, you gave up so many assets to get him in the first place. And again, he's one of the reasons why teams are holding on to their draft picks now. It's like him and Rudy Gobert and probably a couple other trades where people are like, okay, maybe we shouldn't be just trading 5 first-round picks anymore. That's a lot of pressure to put on like a singular move and everything, and now people aren't going to be trading like a bunch of second-round picks always. Like, you still see it happen a little bit more, but I think people are starting to hold their assets a little tighter. And if I was the Atlanta Hawks, I'd probably just keeping DeJounte Murray anyway. Like, he's going to be better in just trying to ride him out and trying to make it work. Rather than going and finding something else. We saw like this year, like Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns ended up figuring out how to play together. Like maybe DeJounte Murray and Trae Young can still find a way to win some games. I think there's just different problems on that team personally. I think that they're the best pairing ever? No, but I think there's still a lot of room to be made. So giving them a C, I'd say it's higher than that. I don't think they needed to make a move completely. Boston Celtics, B+. Yeah, no, the Celtics... the Xavier Tillman was an underrated move because he's a very good defensive player, like a lot better than most people would expect. And I think a lot of the other smaller moves that they made, like bringing in Springer and moving Banton and everything in order to remain flexible to play in the buyout market, nice. And at the end of the day, they only gave up, I think it was 2 second-round picks. So I'd agree with this B+ rating for Boston. Brooklyn Nets, C. Yeah, I'm actually going to probably agree with this one. Yeah, they were saying they wanted to get a first-round pick for Royce O'Neal. All those articles, when people write that shit, it's all bullshit, man. Like, it's all smoke and mirrors. Don't listen to any of that stuff. But they got some second-rounders, and that makes a lot more sense. They added a new starting point guard in Dennis Schroeder. Spencer Dinwiddie didn't want to be there anymore, clearly. They moved on from him, and the biggest thing, though, is that they didn't find a way to move on from Dorian Finney-Smith. Somebody would have wanted him, and apparently they just waited too long to make that move. So you got to give them some shit for that. But the Nets now, like, while they maybe improved their roster because they have Dennis Schroeder now, I don't know, man. Like, I still don't know where this team's going. Like, it's so weird. This team, like, at one point, tried so hard to get good so fast. They fell off so quickly. They did a great job rebuilding when they had no assets, and then they kind of fucked it up again. Like, it's this team just needs to be patient and build something. And I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's not happening anytime soon. Charlotte Hornets, A. Yeah, no, you might be able to give the Hornets an A+ even. Like, the reason maybe you don't give them an A+ and maybe more of an A- is because this franchise has just been in disarray for so long. But in terms of just like how they handled the deadline, I think it made a lot of sense. Like, we see now that first round picks are hard to come by, right? Like, we need to forget that people used to be going for 4 or 5 first round picks. That's not going to happen anymore. Like, people are really going to hold on to these picks, and they're more valuable than ever. So now the fact that they picked up 2 by moving Rozier, and then they got another one for PJ Washington, it's top 2 protected, but still, you're going to get that pick most likely. Like, those are valuable things right there. You get to experiment now with Grant Williams and Trey Mann a little bit, and you found a way to get something for Gordon Hayward, which is awesome. You picked up some seconds for that one. Like, Hayward was not an easy contract to move by any means, and he didn't want to be there, so you got something for him, and maybe Trey Mann is something for them long term, but, you know, they've got time to figure that out now. So while they're not in a great place in general, like LaMelo Ball is always hurt, Brandon Miller looks really good. Mark Williams hopefully comes back healthy, and You can try out some new things now, and you got some assets to move forward with. Chicago Bulls. Oh my God, I hate the Bulls so much right now. For those of you that don't know, I'm a Bulls fan from Chicago originally. If you listen to any Bulls fan on YouTube right now, they're probably all saying the same thing. This is just so annoying. Like, what do they say? Yeah, look at what they say in this article right here. There's no worse place to be in the NBA than the middle. The Bulls aren't even stuck there. They're choosing not to leave. That's the most infuriating part. Like, at least try something. Like, they literally haven't traded for a player in years. Like, what are you doing? Like, this team doesn't work. Like, I understand it's not completely their fault that Lonzo Ball went down and everything fell apart, but that team was going to need to make adjustments anyway. Like, this team's never going to become anything. It's just not. Just move the assets. The whole idea of like, oh, like we just want to keep Caruso for the culture and everything. Like, we love Alex Caruso. Yes, but he's going to leave us. He's just going to leave. Like, what, are you going to give DeRozan a big-ass contract? Now, I love DeRozan, but what's the point? There just is no point. Patrick Williams never gets a chance to develop. Like, nobody's giving him the ball to score. Kobe White's doing his thing now, which, cool. Nobody wants Zach LaVine, so we're just stuck with Zach LaVine now. Like, there's no point of having Zach LaVine. Like, we're just never going to win basketball games with this team. I just can't comprehend, like, why this would happen. Just move Torrey Craig. Somebody wanted Andre Drummond. A ton of teams wanted Andre Drummond. We had players that just don't fit well together that could have gone somewhere else, and they just didn't do it. And so now we're just going to be, like, bottom tier basketball by choice and pay a shit ton of money to do so for no reason, and there's no hope on the horizon. Just so stupid. The Bulls, yeah, they completely lost the deadline. There's no way there's a team worse than them. Cavaliers B, they didn't do anything, so I don't want to talk with them. Dallas D+, no, you're wrong about this one. Whatever this guy's name was, Quinn or whatever. I'm curious what his rationale is here. They're saying because they don't have their own first round pick between 2027 and 2030. You have Luka Doncic, man. As long as you have Luka Doncic, you're not going to be in the lottery most likely anyway. The goal is to keep Luka Doncic around for years, and you got better this deadline, and you only really gave up some second round picks. Like, yes, you had to trade you had to trade a pick swap to go get that first round pick to then go get Gafford. But, like, you basically maybe moved back in the draft in 2028. Like, maybe. Like, it's not a big deal. It's just not. Like, PJ Washington and Gafford are on very team-friendly contracts that you can then trade again if you really wanted to. I talked with you guys a lot about this in the comments, and you guys seem to be in agreement. Like, there's no way they lose these trades. It just doesn't make sense. Like, these players can easily be moved. They're helping the team right now. Like, these are just upgrades and positions that they need. And they're younger dudes that can stick around for a while. It just makes too much sense. The Dallas Mavericks got an A. 100% they get an A. Denver Nuggets pass. Yeah, that doesn't really count. They're just waiting for the buyout market, right? Detroit Pistons B. I don't know. Okay, let's talk about one thing first. They cut Gallinari. Thought that was kind of weird. I feel like we could have cut some other people first, but you know, whatever. Like, they moved on from Monte Morris. They brought in Fontecchio. They found places for Bogdanovich and Alec Burks. So, like, that's cool. They got some assets, and I like the Q Grimes move. I think he's going to be a long-term piece for them. I think that makes a ton of sense. I don't necessarily hate any of the moves. Maybe they could have gotten another first-round pick or something. You could make that argument. I don't think they got, like, a horrible haul by any means. But what's confusing and what I want to see more out of Detroit going forward is just lineup management. Like, I love Monty Williams as a coach, but, like, you guys have heard me say it on this channel all year. Like, it's just been a complete mismanage of player minutes and rotations this whole year. It's not a perfect team by any means, but, like, there's just so much more they could be doing with this roster. They're finally discovering Jaden Ivey's even on the fucking team. Like, Jalen Duren should be, like, getting fed minutes, like, this whole year. We're finally seeing his 20 and 20 numbers. If y'all watched the Washington Wizards series we did where we went and got Jalen Duren and he became just like a stud for us. Like, I meant a lot of what I said in that series. Jalen Duren is a monster. Like, that's your starting center going forward. Awesome. You got it. Cade Cunningham's awesome. Asar Thompson should be playing so much. He's so talented. Like, that's just the weird thing there. But trade deadline wise, like, I don't know, I thought they did fine. Golden State Warriors C, why? Like, what were they supposed to do? I don't understand. Like there's no flexibility for them to make any moves or anything. Like you can judge them on what they've done up to this point, but at the deadline, I mean, there's just only so much they could do. They basically paid someone to take Corey Joseph so that they have an open roster spot. Maybe they go get a Spencer Dinwiddie now or something, but I'm willing to bet that Dinwiddie's going to end up in Dallas. He was sitting like behind the Dallas Mavericks bench at that New York game last night, so that's where I think that he's going to end up. Houston Rockets, C-. The Steven Adams trade was an odd decision for Houston. Why? The cost was more than reasonable, but Adams won't be able to solve their short-term backup center issue. Well, there was no other solution to that because the Bulls wouldn't trade Andre Drummond. And yeah, he's coming off a serious knee injury, but it's not like he was like the model of athleticism beforehand. I don't know. You're bringing in like a vet for a team that desperately needs vets and stuff, and you're really establishing like a true backup center on this team. Like, why not take a higher upside swing on Robert Williams? He's hurt all the time too. What are you talking about, dude? Like, I don't know. That's a dumb take or whatever. Like, the Rockets getting Steven Adams, I think, was a more than fine trade. They swapped Oladipo for it. There you go. Indiana Pacers, B+. I need to like recap what even happened for them. Like, they lost Buddy Hield, they brought in Corey Joe and cut him, and then also got Doug McDermott. Like, yeah, they got like some picks and everything. So here's the thing. If you were positive that you couldn't keep Buddy Hield, it looks a lot better. If there was a chance you could have kept Buddy Hield, then, you know, you just do that. And I'm sure if they would have thought they could have kept Buddy, they would have just tried that. But it is nice that they were able to bring Doug McDermott in. That does help them a lot, and they picked up some second rounders. And by the end of the like whole like Pascal Siakam trade moving over there and everything, they really didn't lose like a ton of assets. Like the 3 firsts is tough, but like honestly, not the worst price ever. So you'll have some ways that you can move around this offseason if you're Indiana to kind of maybe build the roster in a little more efficient way. To fit the Halliburton and Siakam, Miles Turner thing you're trying to get going on here. Maybe Matherin's a little more a part of that now. But I don't know. Like, it's really not a bad deadline by any means. It's just, it sucks. I wish they could have kept Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield was awesome for them. Clippers, A. Is this article just like grading? Like this? No, the article says it's trading, or it's grading trade deadline moves. So why did they get an A? They didn't do anything. Like, I don't understand. Whatever. Lakers, C. Yeah, the fact that the Lakers couldn't make a move is tough, right? Because like you went and made a bunch of great moves last year, and I don't exactly know what the problem is this year. I feel like there's just, well, we can point to Darvin Ham. Darvin Ham's clearly not like a very great coach, but something needs to be done because there's plenty of talent here that we should be able to mold into a better team than what we're seeing on the basketball court. And so I don't think a trade was necessarily going to fix it. Like, I don't think DeJounte Murray was the answer to fix this at all. Like, I think D'Angelo Russell's more than capable of being a good basketball player and everything, but we just got to find more ways to make the Lakers a competitive basketball team. Like, this has got to be on the coaching because the roster is not bad at all. Memphis Grizzlies, C+. The Xavier Tillman trade was a bit more of a puzzler. How he netted less in a trade than Adams despite being younger, cheaper, and healthier is a mystery. What is this guy smoking? Like, Steven Adams is a better basketball player than Xavier Tillman was like the 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th big man on a healthy Memphis Grizzlies roster. Like, yeah, he's playing good defensive basketball. He's an underrated defensive player, like, especially because he can go out on the perimeter and everything, but like, he's still like a 6-point a game dude or something like that. Like, there's just limits to like his capabilities, and he's a little bit undersized as a big. So like, I don't know. I think that's a little bit harsh. There's just only so much the Grizzlies could do, and the Grizzlies are pushing to get these young guys more minutes on the team, kind of like we've talked about on this channel. It makes a ton of sense for them to do that, and they're giving themselves flexibility to make a ton of moves this offseason. Like, no, you're not seeing the bigger picture if you think this is a C+. I don't know if they necessarily deserve a grade, but I think they did fine. Like, give them a B+. Miami Heat, the Terry Rozier trade has looked like a miss so far. Stop trying to grade things as soon as they happen, y'all. Like things always regress to their means. Just always remember that it takes guys time to figure it out and everything. Like, the Heat always figure it out in some capacity. Like, I'm just not too worried about it. Like, give them a C, I guess, because they didn't necessarily have a trade deadline move. I guess it happened a little bit beforehand. But no, the Terry Rozier trade was a good trade. Milwaukee Bucks, B+. I would agree with that. Like, they've maintained flexibility by trading Robin Lopez to go play in the buyout market, which is going to be important for them. And they brought in Patrick Beverley. So you know what? Now you've got a defensive player. You got a guy that's going to inspire the team defensively, and that's what you're trying to do, right? So Think they addressed all their needs right there. Minnesota Timberwolves, B. Yeah, a B is a good grade for this because like we know they needed the backup point guard. I hope that they use the buyout market to go get themselves a backup wing now. I'm personally advocating for Joe Harris if he's healthy, so that's neither here or there though. But they wouldn't got the backup point guard. I think they would have probably preferred a scoring guard or something, someone that can create more shots because they don't have a ton of that on this team. But you wouldn't got a very good basketball player in Monte Morris. He hasn't played much of this season yet, but historically super efficient, super capable. Like, you're happy to have Monte Morris on your team going forward if you're Minnesota. New Orleans Pelicans, B-. Yeah, they had the whole Kiara Lewis thing and everything. Like, that trade happened beforehand. They didn't really do necessarily anything at the deadline. It sounded like they tried to get into some trade talks for some of the bigger players, but didn't quite come together. The Pelicans got a nice roster, man. As soon as the right player becomes available, they'll be able to make a move to make it happen. So, yeah, is what it is. All right, the New York Knicks probably should be an A+. I think they're the only team that really beat Dallas on the deadline. Like, their roster is so loaded now, and they didn't give up any first-round picks. Like, they picked up two guys that are debatable starters in the end. Well, one guy's a 20-point-a-game scorer in Bojan. Alec Burks could maybe start on some NBA teams. Like, this New York Knicks team, please go watch my New York Knicks video talking about this trade and everything. I explain in a lot more detail. Just absolutely phenomenal. Like, they've got 10 good above average basketball players on this team now. They have the opportunity to strike right now. Like, Boston is wobbly at times. Like, Milwaukee hasn't figured out how to play defense, right? Embiid is hurt. The Miami Heat don't look like the Miami Heat. Like, this team could do it. Like, they've got so many just like steady basketball players that are just play such like even keeled, easy to replicate basketball. The Knicks could legit go to the finals. Man, that's how good this team is. If they get healthy, Julius Randle comes back, and if Mitch Robb comes back this season, that's a crazy good team. Thunder, yeah, they were definitely another winner of the day. They moved on from some contracts that they didn't want and brought in Gordon Hayward. They needed a veteran presence on the team. They get another 3-and-D type dude that can play within their heavy distribution style offense, the drive and kicks that they like to do. I think it makes a ton of sense. And yeah, they had that, and they got that little pick swap with Dallas and everything. They moved a first-round pick for that. But I mean, that could end up being something that's pretty valuable to them. They've got the picks to give up to make this stuff work. So I really like this. I can't wait to see Gordon Hayward fit in this offense. I'm curious to see if they start him or not. Like, do they move like a Giddey to the bench? Because like, I don't think they're benching Lou Dort or anything. So, but you know, you could have him come off the bench. Like I said, no, this team's good. I'd still like to see them add another big. Like, I really thought they were going to get Kelly Olynyk, and I feel like it would have been easy to do. But you know, you live and learn and everything. Gordon Hayward's a great addition for them. Orlando Magic didn't make any trades. Doesn't really matter. They didn't necessarily need to. 76ers B+. So I was a little bit confused with this. They started off the day with like getting Buddy healed, and like that made sense. So, okay, they're still trying to remain competitive and everything. That's cool. I thought it was a pretty good trade for them. But then they went and sent Patrick Beverley to like their biggest rival currently in the East, who need defensive players, and that kind of weirded me out a little bit. So I don't know. It's are they going to be able to stay afloat while Embiid is down? I don't know. They don't have Daniel House anymore either, which is kind of an interesting one. Like they acquired some second round picks throughout the day and stuff, which maybe they're using those to make some more moves in the offseason. At the end of the day, they financially positioned themselves to where now, I believe it's after this season, Embiid is the only guaranteed contract on the roster. Obviously, you're going to bring Maxey back and everything, but you can go do whatever else you want after that. Like, you have all the flexibility to make moves. So I guess acquiring some draft assets isn't the worst thing in the world. So fair enough. You can get like a B or B+ for Philly. The Phoenix Suns, yeah, no, this was a good one. They used their assets that they had available, and they went and made the team better. They brought in Royce O'Neal and everything. Maybe David Roddy gets some minutes for him, but really they just gave up some second round picks and a bunch of dudes that, for lack of a better term, are kind of ass, right? So you brought in some talent, and they still have the ability now to go to the buyout market, which is going to be huge for them. They need to bolster their bench. Trailblazers a D. Yeah, I kind of felt like the Blazers would have been more involved at the deadline, finding a way to move Brogdon and everything. I get Brogdon says he's cool with staying and everything and all that. The whole thing with Jeremy Grant, like, nobody was going to take that contract, man. That's just nonsense that people were saying that was really a thing. Jeremy Grant had a great night, by the way, the other night. He had like 40 some points, but I just don't think Brogdon's necessary on this team. Like, I don't know. I feel like you need to restructure this team somehow if you really want guys like Scoot to thrive. I hate when NBA teams like take these dudes with these high draft picks, but then don't put them in a position that makes sense for them to succeed. Like, what is Scoot Henderson supposed to do with no spacing around him, and like a guy like DeAndre Ayton just floating in the middle of the court all the time? I don't know. That really bothers me. I'm like, you should have just like done something else, just trade back or something. Because if you're not going to try to make it work around him, then there's no point. They did go get Delano Banton and everything. I don't know if he's staying on the team or anything, but that's another guy you can throw out there and see what happens. So yeah, no, Portland gets like a D for this one. Sacramento Kings, yeah, they didn't really do anything besides bring in Robin Lopez, and I believe they waived him. So they essentially just got paid. Watch the buyout market. The Kings have a lot of good things going on, and there wasn't an obvious move to be made. So, you know, you stick with what you got. Maybe you'd like to find a replacement for the struggling Herter and Harrison Barnes, but like, what name was really out there besides like a Bogdanovich to go get that? And I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I can blame the Kings too much. There's only so many trades that can happen. Gave the Spurs a C-. Like, they traded Doug McDermott, which I guess they were like, Chetty Osman can kind of do everything he does anyway, and like if he's just going to leave at the end of this year, then like let's go get something for him. They're giving him crap because they didn't go get another point guard to help him out, but like was it really worth trading assets to go get the point guards that were available? Like, is Tyus Jones really a necessity for a team that's not very good in the San Antonio Spurs right now? Like, no, just keep letting Trey go do his thing right now. Like, definitely go find a point guard this offseason. I've seen the rumors of Trae Young ending up in San Antonio or something like that. Like, I just don't see that happening. I don't think that makes sense, and I don't think it's a good trade either. Like, I don't know how well those guys will play off each other, but I don't know. I don't see that working, and I don't see it happening. So I don't know. I think the Spurs kind of staying mostly put and just acquiring a couple more assets gives them like a BB plus to me. All right, Toronto Raptors fans, this one's for you. So I've had a lot of discourse with you guys in the comments about this one because Raptors fans seem a little bit higher on this on these moves than I am. They moved guys like Schroeder, who have been good for them this year, right? He clearly didn't want to be there anymore since Emmanuel Quickley had come in. I can't talk anymore. Bruce Brown, they're keeping him around to kind of see where he fits and everything. They've got an option though if they want to maintain some cap flexibility to get rid of him after this year. The Kelly Olynyk trade was unusual. I agree with that. I understand basketball strategy wise why you do that. You want to experiment with like Scotty Barnes having a spacing big and everything on the team, and you didn't really have a backup center on this team behind Pirtle. But like, I don't understand dishing out the first round pick for him and Agbaji. Like, my thing with Agbaji is that there's a ton of other guys at his position already, and I don't really know how much you can develop him when you've already got like 3 or 4 other dudes that you're trying to develop that are clearly ahead of him in the rotation. Like, and I saw a lot of you Raptors fans, you guys make a good point. They're like, this pick was going to be like 28 to 30 in the first round anyway. I'm like, well, personally, I'd rather just kind of mess with what I have, and then come draft time, maybe there's a dude I want in a position I need that I want to develop or something. And I don't have to pay him much money either. So I don't know. I'd like to use the pick that way personally, but I understand it. And maybe Agbaji kind of finds his way with this team, and this is a way to see how Olynyk works with everything and maybe re-sign him. But I don't know. I don't quite get what they're building right now. Like, what is the ultimate goal here? Is to have like a Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett thing going on? And like, that just doesn't seem like we're building towards anything all that interesting. You Raptors fans, let me know though. I know you will. Like, I'm glad you guys like the trade and everything. To me, it doesn't seem necessary. So I don't know, but you guys obviously let me know. Utah Jazz, they only get a C. They got a first round pick for some people they didn't really want. Like, they moved Fontecchio too, which was like a little bit odd, I guess, because he was kind of helping them stay competitive. But if you wanted to just get something for him, I guess that makes some sense. I don't think you can judge any of these moves like too harshly, though. Like the Fontecchio one, getting the picks for Olynyk and Agbaji. Like, if you really didn't see them as part of the long-term plans, it doesn't matter. Like Olynyk didn't need to be on this team. Like, you've got the Markkanen, the John Collins, the Walker Kessler to run your front court rotation anyway. Like, you didn't need another one. Like, that's just not going to equate to a ton of winning basketball at the end of the day. And Agbaji just wasn't cracking the rotation. So yes, you're getting a pick in a draft that's not all that interesting anyway, but for the same reason that I said the Raptors should have kept that pick is the reason why I think Utah should have that pick, right? Is now they can look and say, okay, we've got these dudes on the team, like, we're kind of building something here with some of these dudes. where can we address some needs? And I think that's where they'll be able to do it. Maybe they find a wing at the end of the first round or something like that, where they can grow and find some more value than Abaji was going to bring them. So I don't know if giving them a C is necessarily wrong. I'm glad that they're still trying to be somewhat competitive this year, but I think whoever wrote this article has the view of like you should either be really bad or really good. I think if you have the opportunity to win basketball games, you should go and do that, and eventually it's going to work itself out. Washington Wizards. The Wizards didn't really do anything besides trade Daniel Gafford. So they got the first round pick for that. That's cool. So they can actually start bringing in some more young players as early as this next draft class. And it was their job this trade deadline to look at like the 2 or 3 few valuable assets that they have and say, okay, we're clearly not going to be very good at basketball anytime soon. Let's maximize these right now. They should have moved Tyus Jones. That's too bad. Marvin Bagley has been good for them, so I'm not mad that they traded Gafford. Gafford's a really nice and underrated player, so it's cool that you got rid of him because those were probably the only 2 guys outside of like Coulibaly that anybody would have been actually interested in. So you got a first-round pick for him. I told y'all first-round picks are hard to get right now, and really I think they did probably the best they could. I find it hard to believe they couldn't find a way to move Tyus Jones. They're like, we'd rather just keep him for this. I'm like, man, just take the highest bid on it. Don't be the Chicago Bulls. Just take the highest bid on it right now. It just doesn't matter. But yeah, y'all, that's kind of my thoughts on the deadline for each of the 30 teams and everything. Y'all are going to have to let me know your thoughts and everything. I think the clear winners of this, to kind of recap, are Dallas, New York, probably Charlotte, and OKC. Like, those are the teams I'd say. The losers, definitely the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls are just a fucking joke at this point. I honestly just don't even want to watch. Like, I can't even enjoy the Kobe White experience right now. It's just, I just don't believe. I just do not believe. So someone make me feel better about being a Bulls fan. Somebody tell me something good I have to look forward to as a Bulls fan so that I don't do something about it. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that's going to be it for this week and everything. Next week, back to some more like regular content and everything. We'll talk about the buyout market and everything and analyze some more basketball. Thanks so much, y'all.